Harvestman's Curse. In the small, sleepy town of Willow Creek, autumn brought a chill that wrapped around the houses like a hidden whisper. The leaves turned a fiery orange, and laughter from the harvest festival echoed through the streets. Yet, a shadow hung over this quaint town, a curse that few dared to mention. Jake Thompson stood at the edge of his property, eyes scanning the horizon. It had been a year since his son Timmy was killed in a reckless accident involving a group of local teenagers. They had been joyriding in a truck, boasting about their fearless exploits, when they lost control and crashed headlong into the side of Jake's farmhouse. Timmy had been playing in the yard. The guilt and fury coiled tightly within Jake's chest, simmering in the backdrop of his grief. "Don't let your anger consume you," his late wife used to say. But she was gone, and her words felt like dust on the wind. The thought of Timmy's laughter, silence forever, draped over him like a heavy cloak. On Halloween night, as the moon hung low and full in the sky, Jake wandered into town. The festival was in full swing, colorful lights strung from tree to tree. Kids in costumes ran and played, their joy juxtaposed against Jake's despair. But amidst the merry chaos, an old man caught his eye. Abel, the town elder known for his stories of the supernatural. "Jake," Abel said, his voice raspy like dry leaves, "you seek vengeance, do you not?" Jake stiffened. "What do you know?" "The Harvestman," Abel whispered almost reverently. "He is a spirit born of anger and sorrow. He avenges the lost. But be warned, vengeance is a hungry beast, and it demands a price." Jake's heart raced. He dismissed the old man's warnings, but a seed of desperation took root. That night, as he sat alone in the dark, a chilling wind howled against the house, carrying Abel's words deep into his mind. Days later, armed with a dark resolve, Jake collected the items needed to summon the Harvestman. A lock of hair from Timmy's favorite toy, a vial of his blood, and a carved pumpkin, its face a twisted grin in the moonlight. He made his way to the woods, the same woods where children often dared one another to go. "I'll make them pay," he muttered, beginning the ritual. The air crackled with anticipation, a storm gathering in the distance, as he whispered the incantation he found in dusty old tomes. The ground trembled, and from the shadows emerged the Harvestman, a towering figure cloaked in tattered rags, with a head carved from the largest pumpkin, eyes glowing like embers. The spirit loomed, its voice resonating like an echoing thunder. "You have summoned me, mortal. What is your wish?" "Make them pay for what they did," Jake demanded, his heart pounding in terror and excitement. "So it shall be." The Harvestman vanished into the night, and Jake felt a cold satisfaction wash over him. But as he returned home, a sinking sense of dread gnawed at him. The next morning, the first report came in. One of the teenagers, Sarah, was found mutilated in the woods, blood dripping from toothy gashes that mirrored the spirit's grin. News spread like wildfire, panic igniting in Willow Creek. The following days brought more terrors. Each night the Harvestman claimed another victim, each death more grotesque than the last. Jake watched with twisted satisfaction, but as the spirit's wrath grew, so did his unease. The townsfolk turned their eyes toward him, whispers circling like vultures. "Right, my dear." His voice soft with pain. "Jake, you can't let this go on. They were just kids," shouted Tom, a neighbor who had known Timmy. But Jake only saw red. Each scream was a melody of justice. Desperation soon turned to horror when Jake learned that the Harvestman wasn't just targeting those responsible for Timmy's death. Innocents fell victim too. Friends, family, anyone who knew the teenagers. The truth hit him like a blow. He had unleashed a force that didn't discriminate. One fateful night, driven by a mix of fear and loathing, Jake ventured back into the woods, determined to end the nightmare he had created. The moon shone bright, illuminating a path he hoped would lead him to the Harvestman. "Stop this," he cried into the night, the wind howling around him. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Bah! The shadows stirred, and the Harvestman emerged from the darkness, a terrifying specter. "You called for vengeance, and I answered. But vengeance hungers. It demands more and more until all is consumed." Jake trembled, realization dawning. What have I done? The cycle of vengeance is a curse that devours its own, the Harvestman intoned, its voice echoing through the trees. You sought justice, but justice has twisted into a monster. Your sorrow has birthed chaos, and now you must face the consequences of your wish. Jake fell to his knees, the weight of his choices crashing down upon him like the raging storms that swept through town. Please, I didn't know. A flicker of pity darkened the glow of the Harvestman's eyes. Your intent was pure, but your heart was clouded by grief. The price for vengeance is the pain of the innocent. In your quest to avenge Timmy, you chose to let darkness guide you. As if in response, the air shimmered with a sudden chill, and the wails of the lost echoed around him. Voices of the townsfolk, friends and family, now lost to the wrath of the Harvestman. Each cry stabbed at his heart, a symphony of regret. I can't let this continue, Jake shouted, desperate. Is there any way to stop it? The Harvestman took a step closer, its enormous figure looming over him. The only way to end the curse is to reclaim your humanity. Abandon your thirst for revenge. Offer your sorrow instead. But how? I want my son back. I want them to pay, Jake protested, his voice rising in desperation. The dead cannot be restored, but their memory can be honored, the Harvestman replied, the glowing eyes dimming slightly. Return to your grief. Let it wash over you. For, with true acceptance, comes the power to end this nightmare. Jake's mind raced. Could he? Could he face the truth of his loss rather than drown in the darkness it had wrought? The memories of Timmy flooded his mind. The laughter, the gentle spirit, the kindness. It had to be enough. I can't bring him back, but I can remember him, Jake said, tears streaming down his face. I can let go of my anger. For him. With that declaration, the air shifted dramatically. A powerful wind surged through the clearing as the Harvestman stepped back, as if acknowledging the shift within Jake. Then, speak his name, the spirit commanded, its voice now softer, more resonant. Let the spirit of your son absolve you of this darkness. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of grief settle upon him like a shroud. Timmy, I remember you, and I love you. I'm sorry for what happened, and I will always honor your memory. I wish to free you and the others from this curse. Take my sorrow, just let it end. His heart began to lighten, lifting the heavy veil of grief that had shrouded it. The ground trembled once more, but this time it felt like release. The shadows around him began to dissipate, swirling into wisps of fog that floated away into the night. The Harvestman watched, the pumpkin head glowing warmly. Your sacrifice is a gift. With it, the souls lost to vengeance may find peace. As Jake stood, the echoes of the town's screams transformed into echoes of laughter, memories of those now free from torment. The Harvestman lowered its head. You have chosen the light over darkness. Your sun will always be with you. In every heartbeat, every breath. In a flash of blinding light, the Harvestman faded, leaving behind an eerie stillness. Jake, now alone in the silent woods, felt an overwhelming wave of relief wash over him. Returning to Willow Creek, he found the townsfolk gathered, fear etched in their faces, unsure of what had transpired. But as Jake shared his story, recounting the curse he'd released and the spirit he had confronted, something shifted in the atmosphere. Hope began to sprinkle like sunlight after a storm. From that day onward, Jake dedicated himself to honoring Timmy's memory, turning his grief into a force for good. Each Halloween, he set up a grand display in remembrance of his son, bringing the community together to share stories of love and laughter rather than fear. The Harvestman had taught him that while vengeance could arise from pain, healing blossomed from love and acceptance. And though the specter of the Harvestman would always roam the night, it became a tale of caution and redemption, a reminder that embracing the pain of loss was the true path toward freeing oneself from the grip of darkness.